Welcome back, nerds. It's time for more Total Party Kill. It's me, your internet buddy, Tony Sindelar. Today, we are doing the first of a kind of side adventure in the game of Gamma World. Something a little bit different than the other games we have played here on Total Party Kill. Gamma World is kind of a wacky, post-apocalyptic, horrible future with crazy technology and mutants kind of game. You know, delightful post-nuclear war escapism that's fun with all the kids today. Joining me, I've got four lovely players. Let's meet them. First off, it's Erica Ensign.
Hello.
Erica, we will meet your character very soon, but thank you for joining us here at Gamma World. Also here, it's Brian Hamilton.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me here. It's is the itchy skin and clicking on this Geiger counter normal?
Totally normal, but please don't use my mouse. Also here, she basically already lives in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. It's Aline Sims.
It is, yeah, you know, I can't deny it. It's true.
So it's just, you know, I've been to Arizona. The weather there is brutal, and the giant mutants stumbling across the highway don't help.
It's not even 100 degrees Fahrenheit here today.
That's
it's
not a
balmy
number the weather
sweater
should be.
weather.
I appreciate you calling out the Fahrenheit thing because that could have been very scary for a comedian like me.
Do you want to say what temperature it is here that you consider sweater weather in Arizona?
For me,
Yeah.
Like the 70s.
Okay, that's actually a totally normal number.
Whoa!
Wow.
And last but not least, it's Micah Sargent.
Hello. Yeah, Arizona. I hear it's a dry heat there. It's a very
Not today.
It's a very terribly humid heat all the time in the Midwest, where I live at least.
I love when people say it's a dry whatever to try and like make it feel better. I spent a lot of time winters in Wyoming, and they'd be like, it's a dry cold, and I'm like, it's awful here.
Oh no, that's when dry cold is when you die because everything cracks and bleeds.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's I can't recommend it. So people who live in Wyoming, never leave, or you'll never want to go back unless that's helpful. So anyway, we're here to play Gamma World. This is a kind of wacky post-apocalyptic role-playing game. We are playing actually the 7th edition of Gamma World, which is kind of this version of Gamma World. It's basically a modification of Dungeons and Dragons. So if you have played Dungeons and Dragons or listened to us play Dungeons and Dragons before, you're going to notice a lot of similarities in terms of the mechanics, but what really sets it aside is the setting and the wacky nature of the characters, both that our players will be playing and that they will be interacting with, and we'll meet some of them very soon. So, our adventure starts, as all adventures start, all good adventures, in a meeting. There's a conference table. There are several creatures seated around it. There's a PowerPoint. But what makes this meeting slightly different from others is that the creature leading this meeting is a 6-foot-tall rat with spectacles perched on his snout, and he's wearing a lab coat. You've met this creature before. He's Professor Rat. To some of you, he's a friend, maybe even family. To some of you, a mentor. To some of you, he's just the crazy rat that trades you food for bits of technology that you scavenge from the wasteland. But he's called a meeting. So, I suppose you're wondering why I've called you all together today, and I'll try and be quick. I couldn't get PowerPoint working quite right, so we're not going to worry about that. I spent way too long on the transitions, and this is actually kind of an urgent matter. You may have heard, we've been having a situation where about once a day, a killer robot rolls up to town and fires missiles and then explodes. And the first couple were exploding before they were actually getting to town. Several of them were trying to fire a missile and explode, but they're now starting to actually launch missiles. And this is a problem for heroes at the town. So I've called you all together in the hopes that perhaps you could go out on an expedition to deal with this robot menace and save town. How does that sound to you? And I think we should meet some of the creatures seated around the table. There's 4, somewhat strange by our listener standards, but totally normal by Gamma World standards, personalities. Let's first hear from Whitting.
Whiting is a vampiric felinoid who is, they're in their early 30s, they're non-binary, and they've been immortal for over 2 centuries, since even before everything went into this nuclear wasteland. They are let's cut that out. They're entirely white fur. They dye orange, and their wardrobe is entirely witchy and spooky, with a lovely tuxedo and a very exuberant pink bow tie today.
Okay. So, Whiting, the vampiric felinoid. Next up, we have E84. E84, how are you doing? Would you like to tell the listeners a little bit about E84 and what they might imagine E84 looks like?
All right. E84 is an android, an entropic android to be specific. E84 has sort of it's a bipedal creature, has sort of an Art Deco robot face that makes absolutely no it doesn't move. There's no kind of emotion. The voice just sort of comes out of the mouth. If you've ever seen Doctor Who's Robots of Death from the 1970s, Tom Baker story, you'll know exactly what E84 looks like. Yeah. E84 is here to help.
Excellent. An entropic android. And next, we have Atifa Alvar.
Yeah, Atifa is 16, not centuries old, and she is an empath. And we'll discover more about her as time goes on.
Okay. And last but not least, I want to make sure I get this name pronunciation at least close. Bobo Bob Joe?
No, young man. It's Bob Joe. It's okay. People mostly get that confused. Oh, I am a seismic mind color, sir. I'm a village elder, and, well, look, here's the problem. You live in a village for a long time, and you teach the young ones how to be good people, right? Well, what happens when they start to disavow empathy? Empathy? That's the new futuristic type of empathy. They celebrate selfishness, and they break off into smaller, less diverse groups that only want to overpower others. Well, I spent a year trying to get them to be good people, but they just wouldn't do it, and I had to leave the village. I hope to learn from my experiences as I adventure forth and take that knowledge back and fix my village. No, I guess the only other thing you should know is that, I just very much love people, and that's why it's nice to be around everyone here today, including our dear friend the Rat.
Yes. Yeah, and so Professor Rat has assembled quite a crew here today to deal with the problem that he has identified, and he'll mention here and kind of in closing. And of course, we would not expect you to take upon this important mission for the town uncompensated. I've prepared payment in advance. He pulls out kind of a tray laden with all kinds of weird kind of gizmos. Some of them are kind of whirring. Some of them are maybe making slight ticking noises, and one of them is definitely kind of glowing in a kind of soothing way. So one of these for each of you. This is some of the finest technology that you could ever find. And I believe he's going to hand out, to Atifa Alvar, you are going to get an unstable vibroblade. So enjoy that.
Okay.
To E84, you're going to get a prototype power fist. Be very careful with that. Don't point it at anyone you like.
That will not be a problem.
To Bob Joe. Bob?
You're missing a Bob.
Yes, there are 3 Bobs, young one. Just think of it like Bob to the 3rd degree.
I'm going to get this, I promise. Bob. Wait, no.
That was 4.
Bob.
Oh, it's not accurate. Neither will thou too.
Yes, Bob. Joe. Can I call you Joe?
Yeah, you can call me B. Joe.
How about 3 Bob?
3 Bob Joe.
3 Bob Joe.
You seem like it would be important that you not die. Here is a medical device. This is called the Patch version 2. Very powerful.
That sounded like you were saying I'm old, but I'll take it anyway.
And let's see here. What do we got left? Oh, yeah. He pulls out. This is actually rather a large, bulky metal suitcase. Quite big, about the size of like a steamer trunk. And he tries to get it up onto the table and gives up and just slides it across the floor at Whiting. This is an erratic rifle hound. Yeah.
His name is E82, and he's my new best friend.
I don't see how that could be
I
confusing
think I should
in a
be
combat
insulted
situation.
by that.
No, you're 2 greater than E82.
Only 2.
I'll subtract some E's later.
So look, this is frankly some of the best and most functional stuff I've got kicking around the lab here. So we're really investing a lot in you people. So if you are going to die, try not to die on any of the equipment so that we can potentially salvage it later. Yeah. How's everyone feeling today?
Well,
I
you
don't
know
have
what?
feelings.
I do, and I feel like you're maybe not valuing us as people who deserve to exist and be respected, but we've got a job to do, and I do appreciate the gifts that you've given us, and we'll try to take care of them. But look, no promises, son. If we get our blood on them, there's nothing you can do about it except scrub it off with your adorable little hands.
Yes, with my little rat
Another
hands.
day, another ration.
Do you have any other questions for Professor Rat before he sends you on his way?
What exactly is our job?
Which direction did these robots come from?
They came from the west, I believe.
All of them?
Yes, each and every one. Roughly every 22 and a half hours.
Roughly every
Roughly.
22 and a half hours.
Correct.
Very rough.
I didn't
Do
think
any-
to start timing them until recently. I apologize. I've been very busy.
Do any of them look like the ancient god Santa Claus?
I am not familiar with that deity. It's so hard to keep track of the different gods in this era of complex religions and faiths. So I'm not sure. I don't think so. They look like robots. Does Santa Claus look
Can I
like a
make a
robot, or do robots look like Santa Claus? Makes you think.
Can I make a check to see if any of this description rings a bell?
Sure. What can I check?
What should I make? Insight, perception?
If you're just, I think, he is happy to point out the location of one of the robots on the edge of town if you want to check it out on your way out.
All right, excellent.
Any other information I can provide with you to hopefully ensure that you are at least somewhat successful?
Yes, I just have a question. Have you seen these robots? Do they have any special abilities we should know about? Do we need to be careful around them? How dangerous are they?
Well, they launch rockets and they blow up. So, pretty high in the danger column. And that is why we are asking you to do what I'm asking you to do. Because, they seem to get slightly more functional each day. And I don't like that as a trend line.
Yes, okay. So the rockets themselves blow up, or the robots blow up?
Both.
Oh dear.
Well, let's. What do you say we roll out, see what we can learn about the one robot that we have on the edge of town, and if we keep walking to the west, here's hoping we'll discover something.
Mm-hmm.
I
agreeable.
like this plan.
Excellent. So the town that you all call home, or at least your temporary home, some of you may be passing through, is simply known as town. It's kind of a walled encampment. There's a lot of makeshift buildings and things that look like perhaps they've even been vehicles in the past, but there is kind of a sturdy, in most places, concrete or asphalt wall around the town that protects it from the creatures that might travel the wasteland, because the wasteland of this world, which is known as Gamma Terra, is a pretty dangerous place. There's all manner of mutated creatures that are less civil than those of you mutated creatures that live in town. And there does appear to be, basically on the west side of town, the remains of several robots that have rolled up to town, fired their missiles, and/or immediately exploded upon encountering town. So it's easy to spot them. There's not a lot of landmarks outside the town.
Can I roll, assuming we're just going to approach one of these robots that's close, can I roll a science to
Absolutely.
see?
I was also going to ask that.
You could both roll science if you want. So all your checks will just be a d20, and then you've all got a science stat.
Mm-hmm.
Whiting got a 10.
Whiting, you're not so sure. It's a robot. It appears to be this is not a robot like an android or other robotic people that you might interact with in Gamma World that might be kind of, sentient, or this seems more like a robot that has been programmed with a very limited task that it would do. That would be what you would get from a 10. Did anyone else get a role that they want to share with us?
I did not get a role I want to share.
I did. No. I did. As an android, E84 is going to kneel down and really poke around the guts, and I got a 31.
Wow.
Oh my.
Whoa.
Whoa.
E84, you carefully analyze the remains of this robot. Even though they're charred and pretty far gone, you were able to determine that this is a Stupendico security robot from the before times. It's basically an antique. It would not have anywhere the degree of decision-making, complex thinking, and perhaps even borderline sentience that you have. But it's a robot that's usually programmed for security, guarding, patrolling different locations. And it seems like a series of them has been, I don't know if they have been programmed specifically to attack the town or simply to travel west and destroy any threats they encounter.
All right, I will relay that to my group and say, I think it is very clear, based on the pattern of the attacks, that someone or something has programmed these robots and is, I would guess, getting better and better at their programming skills because each robot has gotten more effective. And I suspect that they were programmed specifically to go to town because their attacks are getting closer and closer to being effective at town as they come in. Therefore, I'm discounting the idea that they just go west or east, I guess, if they're coming from the west.
So these are programmed for defense, these are programmed for defense, not offense, correct? Even though they're being relayed at us?
They were designed for defense, but someone has very clearly tickled around with their insides.
Oh, dear.
So I suggest that we follow the path backwards and head east. Or wait, they're coming from the west, or they're coming?
Sorry. Yeah, I may have
I
done that wrong. Let me just wait. I certainly did that wrong. Said something wrong at some point. Yes, there is a specific direction they are coming from. It would be very easy to backtrack in that direction if you so chose. I don't know if there's anything else any other business you want to accomplish in town before you head out.
No, I have my 3 horses in my canoe. I'm set.
It is important to note, so in Gamma World, creatures tend to have a wide assortment of equipment and gear from their traveling in the waste. So even though our characters today are level 1, they have quite an assortment of technology, or maybe not technology so much as supplies. Some of it is really just garbage. Some of it I am looking forward to you using to problem solve in imaginative ways, and or whatever.
Do we
To
have
that
rope?
end, I would.
Perennial question.
In this post-apocalyptic world, you all have rope.
Yay!
To that end,
You sound so thrilled.
I would love to take a moment for each of us to read off and tell each other what the gear is in order to A, laugh about it, and B, perhaps more importantly, perhaps not, find out what everybody has just for future problem solving purposes.
I like it. No one will be seated during the listing of all equipment on our character sheet section. It's like the chapter in the Aeneid where they just list all the boats. People love this. So,
I am the kind of nerd who would absolutely get off on that sort of thing. So here I'm literally saluting you, fellow nerds who would appreciate
E84, perhaps you would like to tell us how you are equipped for this mission first.
that. Right. E84 has a Kevlar vest, which actually I think is useful, a winter tire, which maybe doesn't seem quite as useful, a Bowie knife, an assault rifle, an explorer's kit, 5 gallons of fuel, and some duct tape. The one thing you'll notice I don't have is any sort of like cart or like vehicle or anything to carry all of this. So I guess I'm just dragging it behind me in a great big sack, like that ancient god Santa Claus.
Who would like to go next?
Age before beauty. I am carrying some shoulder pads. Anytime I want to put on a suit, I can stuff those shoulder pads in first and look very official. I've got some rebar, an explorer's kit, a generator with 8 hours of fuel, a draft horse with no wagon, it's telling me. A water purifier, but no water. Water everywhere, not a drop to drink. I've got a lantern with 8 hours of lamp oil, and, oh my, another draft horse.
So many horses.
Bob, Joe, could I perhaps carry some of my gear on one of your horses?
I will, yes, that's very agreeable, yes.
Now, do we...
Well, Bob.
Okay.
I, in addition to my explorer's kit and heavy armor, I have 3 horses and a wagon, which means, so I imagine Whiting looking around, I have 3 horses and a wagon. You have a horse. What do you say we all hitch them all together and we can ride along the desert like the ancient god Santa Claus?
Yep.
Praise be to Santa.
I also have a canoe and a laptop computer.
A laptop? How nice.
Quaint.
Yes,
today,
my 2 horses you can use.
Before today, I worshipped no gods. As of now, I am a devout worshiper
Of Santa Claus. Well, I have leather dusters, a yield sign, a Louisville Slugger, a Glock, the Explorer's Kit, of course, a wagon, and also a pickup truck.
Wow.
Whoa!
As you do.
Are you just always driving around in the pickup truck, or does it follow you along somehow?
It is fueled on magic.
Is that true?
I guess we don't know what size it is either. It could be a
Gamma.
tiny little pickup truck.
Yeah, that's true. It is not. Gamma radiation. It feeds on gamma radiation and is always on.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know how I'm wary to start any lengthy discussion about preparing for travel along the wasteland, because I once ran a Dark Sunset session where it became a 2-hour debate about how much you could load onto Gank. But I was just asked this question: how many horses is a good idea to bring? Because
well, especially with the pickup truck, there's got to be at least 80 horses in that engine.
I'm like, do we name the horses, or is that just going to make it feel worse when you guys get those horses killed? So.
Oh no!
Guys, did anyone bring backup horses? I had you bring backup characters. You know.
Well, we could leave a few of the horses behind as backup horses.
Yeah.
Perhaps they could guard the pickup truck if we don't want that following us around. I mean, I have 5 gallons of fuel, but I don't know how far that would get us.
I'll be honest, I'm made a little nervous by the autonomous pickup truck.
I do like the idea of us all riding in one of the wagons behind a team of horses, and I want to affix the yield sign to the back of it. Like a sort of line.
Share the road.
Yes.
Well, yes. So you have 3 horses. Oh dear, I forget your character's name. Whiting. You have 3 horses. I have 2. Does anyone else have horses? I forgot.
No.
Okay. So what about? Well, it depends on if you want to bring your pickup truck along, a Tifa, or if you'd rather leave that behind.
5 horses and a pickup truck is a lot of stuff. Yeah. But this is a game of fantasy escapism. If you want to bring 5 horses and a pickup truck, no one here is going to stop you.
I was going to suggest 4 horses. We leave one behind.
I
The
feel like
4
5
horses of
horses-
the post-apocalypse.
5 horses in a pickup truck is like the worst country song ever.
I'm thinking that too.
Oh.
Okay, so I honestly don't know what this trek runs on, so I kind of feel like maybe
It's got a full tank of gas.
okay.
But
I
we don't
mean-
know how far we're going, and if it runs
Yeah.
out of gas till the desert, that could be bad.
Yeah. So I think I'll lock up the trek tight,
Mm-hmm.
and we could take the horses in a wagon. And I mean, does the explorer's kit include horse food, like horse feed, or do we need to go to the feed and seed store? And
You're okay. We don't need to need
Okay.
to role play searching for horse feed. So
take a 50
Well, I
pound
quit.
sack.
That's all I'm here to do.
I mean,
yeah.
we can if you want. So
No.
This was a horse simulator.
Is there enough security bot debris to hide the truck under?
Probably not quite, but there's a very nice radioactive Yeti in town that looks after people's cars for them while they're traveling. So he's
Very kind.
Yeah, he's more than happy to for a nominal fee keep
The
keep
service
it close.
industry here is kind of impressive.
Yeah, I mean, if you are not prepared to provide quality customer service, there's just not going to be any place for you in the post-apocalypse. So, yes, there's a young up-and-coming electric Yeti, and he is thrilled for the opportunity to be responsible for He'll make sure the tires get rotated, and that everything.
Wow.
He'll check the alignment, and your pickup will be in perfect shape, assuming you ever come back and survive. So, yeah.
Before we go, I would like to take off a decal from one of the rockets and slap it onto the back of the wagon alongside our yield sign and start a collection of bumper stickers, a post-apocalyptic bumper sticker collection.
Okay. I can't promise how many other bumper stickers will be available in the post-apocalypse, but you got to start somewhere, right? So,
Indeed.
all right. So you've got a team of horses that's prepared to pull a wagon, right? So, totally up to you. Probably you could all ride in the wagon. Some of you could ride on horses around the wagon, but the wagon can certainly accommodate the wide variety of garbage that you've collected. Anything else you need to accomplish before you set out?
Speak for yourself, garbage. These
Sorry.
are treasures.
Wasteland relics of immeasurable wealth. So
My
you
I-beam
go.
is priceless.
the I-beam is probably extremely heavy, right? So
Maybe that should stay with the pickup.
I hold up this rebar and say, "You've never seen a more beautiful piece of rebar in your life."
I will
The-
I will leave the winter tire with the pickup truck.
Just-
I feel like
what if you guys are out for
The Winter Soldier.
yeah.
The I-beam will be what latches the horses to the wagon.
I don't think that's how I-beams work, Brian, but I'm not going to stop you.
We're going to get them tied.
Whitey tries to latch the horses to them, and everyone looks at them like, "Wait, what are they doing?" And then
Yeah, you
they're
know what
trying to-
horses love is a giant heavy weight that you don't need.
That's
Oh,
all they
God.
need of us.
The only thing players understand less than rope is I-beams, apparently. So
I think I hear I-beams. I think lasers.
I think an I-beam is like a giant steel girder.
Oh, I'm aware.
Okay.
It's much less interesting to me. to
I
think
thought at
about.
first it was some kind of Apple device, and then I was like, oh, he means like a girder. So
Oh wow, yep, I just googled an I-beam. That's not what I thought it was.
see, we're learning already. This is an educational experience. Okay, so you've
say off to
already
the
done
desert.
some convenient matching of items where one person has a tire and one person has a pickup truck. So you put those together and then leave them behind. This is great. Your horses are already becoming friends with each other. We're not going to name the horses. That's
I feel like that's just a recipe for
that's
disaster.
just inviting tragedy later.
Justin, Travis, Griffin, and Dougie. Boom.
Okay.
Ooh,
Wow, that was
Just
quick.
secured all of their deaths.
Dougie.
No.
I liked that Brian is secretly a great horse namer. So
It's not a
It's
secret
not a
anymore.
secret anymore. Yeah.
Have you ever had horse jerky? It's very delicious.
Micah!
Hey,
I
who's
only
this
named 4 of
Mike?
the horses. We got another one for
All I'm saying is if you ever find yourself starving and you have the choice between your pinky finger or some horse jerky, you're gonna choose the horse jerky, darling.
And you hold up the bloody stump where your finger was.
I did have to choose the pinky one time. Dougie was already gone.
Oh. God. And so you head out into the wasteland.
At last.
You know, it's good that you brought horses because it does seem like you were traveling for quite some time. But conveniently, there's a pretty clear trail that these robots seem to have left. And you're probably only a couple hours away from town when you find the wreckage of yet another robot. This one appears to have just exploded without quite reaching town. They're all kind of they have these kind of treads that they travel on, which just leave like just a really clear path heading. Where did I say? It's on the west side of town, so they're heading west. Heading west. The wasteland here is, you know, it's your standard post-apocalyptic wasteland, scorched, very little plant life, you know, craggy, rocky soil. It is getting slightly, you know, the area near town is very flat and level. It seems like you're heading somewhat up into the hills, though, as you follow this path. Anything you want to do along the way?
I would like to get out of the wagon once we reach this next robot and examine it and see if there are any differences or similarities that might be helpful to the first couple that we looked at. So that is a 27.
Wow. So E84, you study this robot. It is the exact same kind of make and model as the ones outside of town, and this one seems to have had some kind of malfunction while it was in transit, and it detonated. Which you imagine was a pretty impressive explosion, as its entire rocket payload probably detonated at the same time. But it just looks like it somehow malfunctioned and exploded. But it's got the same branding and the exact same make and model, and it is basically in this. There's almost like a deep rut where several robots have traveled in the same path from the
Someone
west.
must have stumbled upon a warehouse full of these, because this is exactly the same model as the previous one.
I'd like to make a I guess nature check to try to do some, you know, looking at the sun and as it's rising and falling, making sure we're still going west and that we're on track.
Okay, roll it.
Oh, that is a 6.
You think, yeah, generally west. Atifa, did you have something?
I was going to ask if E84 could tell how long ago that robot was self-detonated or whatever happened.
Was that something I would have gotten with that science check?
Yeah,
or
sure.
would I
You
need...
think it's probably about 5 days.
Okay. There you go.
It's hard to tell with the, you know, the wasteland can be kind of brutal to things, but so that's probably about as specific as you could get.
So it seems like if
Recent.
it's only been five days, that perhaps their rate of learning how to make these things go is pretty quick. Like, we don't necessarily have a lot of time. Maybe 2 data points isn't a lot of data points, but
What do you say we up the time it takes for us to go?
sure.
What does that
Let's
mean?
I mean, let's keep going.
Okay. I was like,
His
I know how to word.
his fancy vampire cat slang always gets me.
he speaks like someone from the before times.
Okay, so if you're done inspecting this wreckage, you can head onward.
Yep.
Yes.
All
Giddy
right.
up.
Off we go.
Well, you travel a few more hours without incident, but it is starting to get dark. The sun is setting, so I guess there's the decision of whether you want to camp for the night or travel at dark in the hopes of reaching your destination sooner.
I do not require sleep. It is up to the rest of you.
How are the horses doing?
They look a little tired. They have been dragging you and your, wasteland priceless relics all day.
Whiting doesn't need to sleep either, so I'm set to go on the schedule of the horses.
Yes, I think we should, be considerate of the fact that the horses are getting tired. And I know you're all looking at me wondering if as an old man I'm getting tired, but I don't sleep very much at all. I'm fine. Thank you all for worrying about me.
I wasn't worrying. You were. No.
So we rest,
I-
yes?
Yeah.
All right.
We'll set up a camp, set up watches, I guess.
That's always a good idea because the wasteland is a dangerous place, and in fact, you're probably rather fortunate that so far nothing has tried to devour you, because there are all manner of horrible creatures in the wasteland. And perhaps, as you're sitting about the campfire eating some meager dinner, some of you might regale the others with tales of creatures that you have encountered in the wasteland. Creatures such as the Menarl, also known as a slime devil. Perhaps some of you have encountered swarm beetles or, various robot guard bots, and perhaps some of you have even seen the dreaded Sep, also known as a land shark. Because the wasteland is full of many hostile threats, and it's good that you've survived at least one day here in Gammatera.
Can I just tell you all about the time I ran into some swarm beetles? Oh, okay, very well.
Thank you, Atifa.
I'm 16. I need to sleep.
All right.
She's getting touchy.
So, let us assume you awaken without incident the next morning, having slept in shifts, and you feed your horses, and you're ready to go on about your way. You only need to travel for another few hours before the steady path the robots have left leads you're now certainly into hills. And in fact, it looks like there's a structure kind of in the hills ahead of you that the robot's path leads directly to.
The hills have I-beams.
Are these dunes or like grassy hills? What are you? What kind of hills are they?
There's no grassy hills, but they're greenish hills. They're kind of mossy hills. There's some kind of fungus growing on them, and there's lots of boulders about. But they're kind of like rolling hills, and there appears to be the path of the robot seems to slope up a particularly large hill with a structure on top of it that you can kind of make out the silhouette of in the distance.
Excellent. Now, I wonder if there's any way we can get some recon about whether or not we will be ambushed immediately by more of these robots when we get any closer.
That is a good question. Perhaps something...
What say y'all?
And, it is worth noting many of you have some, given your rather strange... strange is a little judgment. Given your variety of origins of your various team members, some of you have various gifts and abilities that may or may not be relevant to this situation.
Yes, I did want to note, I, as a mind coercer, have the power of group telepathy, which means that I can communicate with all of you in your minds, except maybe E84. I'm not sure how many organic circuits you have growing inside.
Can we
I'm
please
not
just
sure
make sure
either.
to not post memes in the group chat?
So yes, that's something that I can use among the group, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to, use that from a distance with robots, because again, not sure how many organic circuits they have, which, modeled after that technology from the Voyager ship.
Whiting is a rogue agent Whiting is a free agent rogue spy. It's something I've not introduced about them yet, and that's been their trade this entire time. We could always use Whiting's spy skills to try to infiltrate and get some kind of intel. My next idea, however, was to possibly pass off E84 as one of these robots coming back and doing some kind of like simple programming glitch, quote unquote.
But I am bipedal, so like I look like a person. I don't have like a big tread wheel. I'm not.
Oh, if only we had a whole
robot.
bunch of apocalypse trash that we could outfit you with.
So, Bob, did I do that right? I will just mention your group telepathy is, I'm just looking this up in the book, while you're conscious, you and each ally within 10 squares of you can communicate mentally with each other. Up to you, or up to the players, whether that applies to robots or not. So...
Actually, I just remembered my alpha mutation, my current alpha mutation, which actually, after reading it, I think I need to retcon the exact way that I got
Sure.
here. I'm thinking that I needed to ride a separate horse, or maybe I just walked. I probably walked. I'm an android because I currently have stink glands, so you can't get within 2 squares of me without being pushed by the awfulness of the smell and taking a penalty to your attack rolls. So I'm guessing that I have just walked about maybe 10 feet to the south of the wagon the entire time and slept off on my own. Because, so I'm figuring if I have enough organic material, on and around me to have stink glands, I should also be able to receive telepathy. that's my logic.
That's I mean, who could argue with that argument? So.
I love Gamma World already.
Yep.
Yeah. So and I mean, I don't know how organic your stink glands are. Maybe it seems like there could be possible that your robot was programmed to emit smells, and they're currently that there's like that's out of like some ratio is broken right now. But it's totally up to you. I mean,
I've smelled a lot of stench in my world and in my life, and that smells pretty organic to me.
So does the power mean that you can communicate to us or with us,
I believe,
like telepathically?
I should have kept that bookmark. I'll look it up again. I believe that you can all. I believe because it's group telepathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that all of you that are close by can just communicate.
Yeah,
okay, so my thought is that I would be able to. Let's say I can hear anything that you have to say, but I can't communicate back.
Okay, so that's the trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's totally up to. I think it's totally up to all of you. I'm sure I'll get emails.
Emails from our listeners? No.
What?
Never.
Yeah, it says communicate with one another. So I think, Bob is providing a mental Skype call for all of you. Should something happen to your current state of consciousness and you were to stop being conscious, that would disconnect the call for everybody else, I guess. So, yep.
We just hear that awful ringing sound of it trying to connect.
On the next page, there's just a picture of like a hawk holding a sniper rifle. It's the coolest thing ever. Sorry, this is the part of the podcast where Tony just looks through a rule book and talks about the awesome art that you can't see.
So let's see. Is there anything? How do we get Whiting to share their skills with us? That they're a spy.
I could simply infiltrate and come back with any recon possible, or splinter off. And I don't want to, metagaming here. I don't want to split the party, but I could sneak around and see if there's anything I can find very quickly.
Are you good at stealth, Whiting?
Yes, I am.
I would certainly say if somebody wanted to sneak up to the tower, they would do some stealth to get there, and then come back and share what information they discovered.
Yeah, I was going to say, mechanically, I don't want to split the party or anything like that, but if I could do a roll to sneak off for a half hour, come back and relay the things I've learned.
Totally.
That sounds very reasonable.
How much distance do I have on group telepathy? Because technically we could still be in communication if
it's 10 squares, so I think it's about 100 feet. So he'd probably be out of range.
Can you hear me now? No? Okay.
Good. Whiting, what is your stealth modifier?
9.
Whoa. Okay.
Although somehow E84 got a 31 on mechanics.
Probably
so
each of you probably has one thing you're amazing at. I'm guessing science
is 12.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's way higher than anything else you have.
Oh yeah, I don't have anything else that's remotely good.
Yeah.
I'm good at both athletics, which I just love, like Yoda, Master Yoda from the before times, and interaction as well, like the ancient god Santa Claus, who was also good at interaction.
Yeah, I mean, you're very charismatic.
My interaction is also very high, so if we ever need to be traveling salespeople and knock on doors and try to infiltrate that way and sell people on, I don't know, globes or something, I feel like you and I would be pretty set.
Yeah, my interaction is 9, and that's my highest.
That's pretty high. I think anything above 5 is really high. It means you're really.
Oh
really
wow,
good
we
at
could
it.
be a traveling group of salespeople.
Traveling trio.
Yeah, this mission is starting to seem really dumb. You guys should just be going around selling horses.
Horse traders.
Marvelous horse jerky.
We could sell their waste as, fuel for lanterns.
Or pickup trucks.
Is that how lanterns work? So...
Well, we're very good at convincing people, yes. So, anywho, Whiting, would you be a dear friend and risk your life to go check out this tower?
You know what? Let's do it. That is a 24.
Wow. Okay. You are like a shadow, which makes sense because you're like a vampire cat. So
Yeah, pretty much.
So this is in your
Story
wheelhouse.
checks out.
Referencing Malice. You can totally approach the tower. So there, basically, this tower is set up on a hill. The structure is it looks like a small, maybe it's 2 or 3 stories, stone tower built up on a hill, and there's lots of boulders and indents into the hill that provide some cover, and you're able to very stealthily, with your cat-like reflexes, dart between those. You're sure that it's impossible that anybody could see you approaching the tower, and you're able to scope it out pretty well. Would you like to roll a perception check as you are scouting about this tower?
So I can get there, but I can't see anything once I'm there. I got a 6.
So, you're having a hard time seeing stuff. You're so focused on being not seen yourself that your ability to pick up what's going on is a little limited. But you do make out there are several shapes moving around toward. It looks like the path that the robots came from leads to a large door or a set of double doors on the base of the tower. As far as you can tell, there does not seem to be any other entrance to the tower other than this set of double doors. There's no windows in it. And you notice that there are several creatures moving around, and they are also kind of trying to stay behind cover. It looks like they're kind of guarding the doors to the tower. I think if you'd gotten a higher perception, I would have told you more about them, but you're definitely aware of the presence of, let's say that you know that there's 3 creatures kind of hiding in hiding around the boulders on the path up to the tower. You also notice pretty close to the door to the tower, there is a rather large kind of crater in the hill, and it's glowing, and that seems like that might be a potential hazard to deal with. So I think that's what you learn with that.
All right, excellent. So I backflip back over to our camp.
All right.
And very, very suavely show up and stick the landing, and convey all of that information and make a really sick Pod People reference from Mystery Science Theater 3000 with regards to the crater.
Okay.
Reference acknowledged.
So
3 guards outside. There's 4 of us. What say you?
Do you suggest the direct approach? If so, I'll need to perhaps go ahead 10 feet.
Well, we could send old Stink Bomb in here to lower their attack rolls before we get there.
I could certainly try to flush them out.
I can dig it.
Unless did you see any alternate means of entry?
There were none. Again, I was too focused on being stealthy to see too much. That's the trade-off of not being seen is not seeing. However, I think I'm relatively confident that there's this one entrance guarded by 3 creatures that we need to either infiltrate or try to attack full force and just go at it. Who knows how many more people are inside, though? I'm sure there's much more than 3 people inside.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds, if we're going to progress, it sounds like this is the decision we have to make. So I'm prepared. And as our dear friend E84 is, offered, we'll have E84 go first and try to, stink them up, as it were.
all right, so I've loaded you.
Part of me still wants to. Sorry, go ahead.
I should have loaded you onto a map where you can hopefully see. There's kind of some kind of cliff-like structures going. You're at the top of the map. I know the kind of like visual geography of this a little weird. You're going, the bottom of the map is uphill, if that makes sense. E84, yes. I put you in front. You could, if you want, you can all be scooted back a little bit.
Okay.
Because E84, how far do you need to be away from people to avoid stinking related issues?
Anyone within 10 feet is in trouble.
I think that just means so if they're adjacent to you, probably.
No, actually, it's whenever another creature starts its turn within 2 squares of me.
2 squares. Wow, that's impressive from a mechanical and biological perspective. So,
I will point out that that's just starting a turn, so I don't know exactly how movement works in this game, but for the purposes of combat with my companions here, you guys, it's only when you're starting your turn.
So
within
moving
2
past you is not too big a deal.
That's fine.
It's hanging out near you is a problem. Yeah. I told you to get an oil change before you left town, but you didn't listen to me. So,
excuse me, that was me.
Do you have a plan other than that E84 is in front?
I still like the idea of a Trojan horse outfitted with my canoe and E84 inside to kind of look like the one of the rockets, and then sent in a sync rocket.
Do we think that I feel like they're probably smarter than that.
Who knows?
It's not very smart, but forget it, Jake. It's Gamma World.
I will point out, you might take a moment and look at what your kind of different types, because some of you have Gamma World does not do the kind of classic D&D thing where you have like leaders, healers, tanks, and strikers. But you may want to briefly compare notes about some of you can probably only attack at range. Some of you can't attack at range. Some of you are probably a lot better, a lot sturdier than others. That may be good to know before you send like an incredibly frail person in to die. Not that there's anything bad or dangerous in this adventure, but just from an academic point of view.
Says the guy who had us create backup characters just in case.
I have a ranged attack and a close attack, so I can do either.
Yeah, I have a ranged 3, a ranged 10, and a melee, and I have 23 HP. So
I only have 19 HP, but my AC is 18, depending on what they will target, and I only have 2 attacks, and they're both touch. So I really have to be up close.
I am not. My best attack is a melee close range attack. I have a few weird things I can do that are ranged. For example, I have a confusion. I have a confusion spell, I guess, that will allow me to curse another enemy with, say, possibly attacking another one of its allies, or not taking an action, or hurting itself in some way. I also have my robot friend here who is yet to be named E84, and I can send him in to destroy things like that. But I am a much better melee attacker otherwise.
Can anybody heal? What is healing like in this?
It is unlikely that anybody can heal.
Okay, I was gonna say.
So,
other than my health patch.
Yes, I believe Bob.
Good job, DM.
Totally natural. Has a healing related Omega tech that's quite powerful. It's unlikely that other people have healing. You can in Gamma World. You can. Some of you may be familiar in D&D. There's a second wind you can do as a standard action once per fight. In Gamma World, it is a minor action, and Gamma World does the kind of standard, or you have a move, minor, and standard action. So once per encounter, you can do a second wind where you regain half of your health. So yeah, and we'll deal with that. Should anyone ever get injured in this adventure, it may just all be negotiating on horse prices. We don't know what's going to happen. I forgot to. Let me just print out this reference sheet of horse prices now.
Horse prices.
Yeah.
So should we send Whiting's robot in?
Ooh. First.
It also will not be affected by the stink. My vote is E84, my robot, and then ranged attacks for us otherwise.
So we'll slowly follow behind E84 and your unnamed robot. Does that work? And we can see how the interactions take place with E84 and the robot, and do our best to help from a distance until we have to get closer to save our skins and the skins of our fellow comrades.
Let me just
I got a little robot token on the thing.
Okay,
now.
I was,
Awesome.
I was like, did that load? That'll be your little robot token. How far can your robot travel from you, Whitting? Does it say?
Yes.
Like, I was wondering if it's like, it has to hang out near you.
If you love it, let it go.
Up to 6 squares as a free action on my turn.
Okay, so it hangs out. I guess actually no, it can go anywhere you tell it to go, and it has a speed of 6 squares. So yeah, it can do whatever you want. Yeah, and it's probably not affected by stuff. So I will tell you, in this, just looking at this map, the path kind of takes the path of least resistance up the hill. There are these kind of cliff parts that it would be a little bit challenging to navigate if you wanted to climb directly up those, but not impossible. And there are boulders that you can see on the map that might be obscuring hostile threats. Also, do all of you see the kind of glowing crater kind of in the center of the map that I mentioned to Whitting when he was scouting? You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Just so we're on the same page with what has been described. All right. So, do you have a plan? The plan is E84 and the robot go first.
I have
Yeah.
a question. I have a question about. I'm just trying to figure out how my power fist would work.
Mhm.
And it says for the damage, it says plus strength modifier. What is the strength modifier on a strength 7?
I'm guessing it's -1.
That's what I thought. And does that come off when you're using a power fist?
I think so. It still does a lot of damage, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I bet it's still a crazy amount of damage because you don't get to call something a power fist without it.
Yeah, it's 3d10 plus strength modifier plus twice your level.
So
which,
yeah.
so I'm guessing it'll just be plus my level.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
I feel like there's probably somewhere it tells me exactly that, but I bet it's probably -1. And I'm not seeing a handy chart that tells me exactly. Yep. Okay. Let's just assume that.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Because I haven't found a better table. Other questions or concerns at this stage?
Not at the moment.
Just to confirm, we are going full frontal attack rather than trying to stealth our way in, right?
Apparently.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
That's my understanding.
Guess so.
All right. So,
What
What do
could
you
go
say
wrong?
we go in?
E84, you're marching up the hill. There's a what does your creature look like, Whiting? Sorry.
Is
Bad
a
at names.
3-legged robo dog, it looks like. Let me find the card.
With like a rifle that, I mean, how does that rifle fit into it? Is it on its back, or like the dog is a rifle?
Does it stick out of his nose like K9 in Doctor Who?
I imagine it has a like badass eye patch with the gun built into the eye patch.
Okay.
But otherwise, it's a 3-legged dog that can kill people.
All right. So E84 and a robot dog are scampering up the hill. The trio of the rest of the group is following from a safe distance downwind behind them. And E84, you're not too far up the hill. You're about where you are there on the map when a voice calls out to you. Sounds like it might be coming from behind one of the boulders, and it just says, "Halt!"
I start walking towards the boulder. I turn toward the boulder
Okay.
and start moving in that direction briefly.
Wait, what's all this? You don't understand halt?
Can you please repeat it? I cannot quite hear you, I say as I walk forward.
All right. A creature appears from around the boulder. Ooh, I moved the map. That's not good. I am great at running games, but not so much how to use Gamble World. Let's see here.
That's my favorite advertising jingle.
All right. Why don't E84, do you want to roll some kind of nature check possibly on recognizing this type of creature?
It looks like a honey badger.
I got a 3.
And we know Honey Badger doesn't care.
So I will tell you that you recognize this creature as it is what is called a batter, which is a 5-foot-tall mutated badger. You didn't roll very high, so you don't know more than that. But you can infer from the fact that it's talking to you that they can talk. So,
So how far away am I? Like, how far away are we following E84 and
looks like
three-legged?
Looks like you're about 20 feet behind them.
Okay. So can I roll like for interaction and talk to?
Yeah, I think so.
How,
I
I don't know how
think so.
steep it is.
Buy our horse dung.
What?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
It was in character.
Buy his horse dung.
I rolled a 27.
So there's okay, and we'll see how that plays out in your conversations. This 5-foot-tall mutated badger is somewhat stern looking. He's got like a bandolier of all kinds of funny things slung across his chest, and he's also got a crossbow and some other kind of primitive weaponry hanging from his belt or strapped to his back, and he looks not pleased that you are here walking up his hill. Hey, you all! I am not pleased that you're walking up my hill. What's all this about? And when I say halt, you halt. It's just rude to not halt.
You didn't say Simon Says.
My name is not Simon. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm sorry, young man. What's your name?
We don't really have names in the batter community. It's maybe we would feel better about ourselves if we. I can't get into that right now. I am a batter, and I am guarding this hill, and you need to go away because you're making my life complicated.
We're
Tony-
we're lost. Can you tell us? We're just trying to get to town, and can you tell us what's going on here? Is this town? Like, I don't know what's going on.
This is not town. But I can understand that. We've all been lost from time to time. You seem like a nice person. In fact, you're in luck. This path leads to town. So all you have to do is just go back, not this way, and you'll get to town. I think it's like 2 days walk.
Oh, so we keep going up this hill towards the tower?
No, absolutely not. I will get fired if you do that.
Who will fire you?
My boss. He's a jerk. I shouldn't say that, but it's how I'm feeling today. And yes, please go away.
It sounds really hard. Can you tell me about your boss? Like, I'd be happy to listen to you. You told us how to get to town. It's the least I could do.
Look, I don't want the other batters to hear about this. Another badger appears from behind this boulder. Hold on a second. Clicking things in Roll20. This is what people tune in for. So, a second badger pokes his head out from behind this boulder and says, "Hey, what are you doing? You're talking to these people? Scare them away. You're going to get us fired."
I would like to roll for interaction as well.
Okay.
It's a D20 plus my skill number, right?
Yep. And I think, you've done... so far, you're doing pretty good. I mean, they do have crossbows that they have not fired at you, so...
That's true. I just figure since we've got 2 people on the board now, we might as well make sure.
Sure.
We're just having a moment here, friend. We hear that there's a bit of tumultuous experience with this boss of yours, and we thought maybe we could help you out, seeing as how you've helped us figure out how to get back to town. Do tell us a little bit more about your troubles. I mean, why would you get fired simply because we're standing here? That seems so unfair.
He's got a point, says the second badger. The first badger says, I guess standing here is not a problem, but probably you shouldn't get any closer. Like, it would look really bad if it looked like we were hanging out.
So I'm gonna take a step forward and I'm gonna say, "Do you mean like this?"
Please don't do that again.
Okay.
The robot dog follows E84.
Now, I guess you said that we shouldn't move. Does that mean whoever can get you in trouble is watching right now? I mean, I thought it was just us out here. We're just having a conversation.
No, he's down in the Warren, but he could be by at any moment. And like, I don't want to get fired. This is the only job I've ever had.
His name is Warren.
No. He lives in a Warren.
Ah,
His
I should
name
probably
is
roll.
the Iron King. I probably should have mentioned that. He's very important around these parts.
Have
Oh,
we
the
heard of
Iron King. I don't know if I've ever heard of this Iron King.
Have we?
If you feel free to roll things.
There's
can
no
I roll
history
a-
in this game. What is that
Conspiracy.
Sure.
He's not iron, he's steel.
I got a 21 to conspiracy.
I got a 19.
Atifa, you have never heard of anyone called the Iron King.
Gotcha.
It's a conspiracy. Stay woke.
I'd like to roll. I'd like to roll a interaction, which gives me a 24 to act extremely interested. Oh, the Iron King! Tell me more about this Iron King. I'd love to hear more about him as I take a step forward.
I don't. The Badgers kind of look at each other nervously. I don't know if we should talk about him. That's probably rude, right?
You just said he was very
it's
famous.
Wilfred Whiting.
He's in charge of this whole complex. My people have lived here for a long time. He showed up recently. He's been, doing stuff with the technology in the basements.
You say your people have lived here a long time, and this iron oxide rusty king comes along and takes control? Is that what you're telling me?
He's very powerful. He has a sword.
Well, now we know they don't have weapons.
What about it?
And there's some other kind of scary creatures that do what he says. Look, we're just, go along to get along. That's us. That's the Badger way. We live in our tower. We don't let people into the tower. He gives us food occasionally. We have to feed his pets, but we don't cause trouble.
Perhaps
he
you
has
could
pets.
go along with us to get along.
I guess, but all my family's here, so it's complicated. It's not as easy as people would say.
What kind of pets does he have? I like animals, like a lot.
One of them's really big.
Well,
Oh,
Really
you
big.
should write a book. You're very descriptive.
yes.
He kind of scratches his head. It shoots lasers from its eyes, and it's big.
Oh,
And
wow,
it
that
flies.
sounds really cool.
It
I
has
guess-
I-beams.
It does have eye beams. It has red eye beams. It flies. It's rather large. And we feed it fabric.
Fabric.
Yeah.
Fabric.
Do you have any fabric?
Alas, just what I'm wearing, or I'd help you out.
I am curious about the markings on the trail. It looks like a vehicle has been through here. Have you seen any vehicles?
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Do
Are
I
you
believe
sure?
him?
You're the
Can I roll
person
insight?
standing there guarding the entrance.
You can roll insight.
14.
He's lying poorly.
Okay. You say we can't stand here and we can't walk up this hill. But I just have to say, it seems like there have been a few. We've seen some things passing through here, walking up and down or rolling up and down this little path, and so I just think we've got a bit of a double standard here. What makes it that we can't walk up and down this path, but the other things that you say haven't can? I don't understand why you're lying to me. We've been nothing but friendly, and I thought that we were really getting along. I was starting to learn about your love for describing creatures that eat fabric. So you could tell old Baba Bob a little bit more, couldn't you?
Well, okay. Look, you seem like nice creatures. Every day or so, Iron King lets out a robot, and we're under specific instructions to let it roll down the hill and go about its business and not get in its way. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. That may very well be. So here's something I'd like to pose to you.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a robot here. We've got two robots here, actually. And
I wave.
We would like to just roll these robots up the hill. And we think that, there's nothing wrong. The king is obviously okay with robots rolling up and down this path. So why not let them roll up and in? The Iron King won't be upset. It's just logic.
The other robot
In
says,
fact,
Oh,
he
sorry.
might be upset if you don't let robots go past.
Oh, that's true. You want to be badgers, don't you? You want to be conflict-free, don't you?
The two badgers kind of walk over in front of the doors and are conferring with each other. They've got their backs turned to you, if that matters.
I was going to say, as they confer, I'm going to move a couple squares closer.
Yeah.
As they confer, I'd like to roll stealth to try to sneak up behind one of the closer boulders, like say up here, so
All
I
right.
can be a little bit better vantage point.
I will tell you, E84, when you move up to where you are, you notice a creature kind of hanging out behind this boulder. This is a different kind of creature. It appears to be a rather large pig-type creature, a mutant pig, and it seems to just be kind of sitting next to the boulder, kind of sulking.
Oh, another sad
As you do.
creature.
But it seems like it's aware of your presence and was aware of the badger's presence and just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. This is a roadhog.
Of course it is.
It's basically a mutant pig that is garbed as if it is a motorcycle gang member. So
And is its name Harley?
we don't know its name yet. So you're aware of that. Let's see. Whiting, you wanted to sneak up on that cliff, or do you not want to now that you're aware of what's going on there?
Do I want to commit to the fiction? Yeah, no.
I'm going to move forward as they're conferring. Just,
All right. I don't even think.
steps back.
I think you really engage them, and they seem trusting and are thoroughly distracted. So I don't think any kind of stealth is going to be required for you to do anything regarding.
I don't want to come across as too intimidating yet still, just because we might be able to get somewhere with these creatures. Now, the fact that the little road hog has been listening along and hasn't done much is fascinating. We don't know yet if we've got to even convince that creature. But yes, let's see what are they called again? The batters? The batters.
Batters.
So if they're still conferring, I'm going to kind of go over to here.
I'll also mention E84 that crater looks relatively dangerous now that you got a close up look of it, and in fact maybe you don't want to be too close to it.
Yeah, that's partially why I'm heading over here, also to make room in case my friends want to
Charge up the
stand
hill.
somewhere on the path or something like that,
All right.
because I know I stink.
All right. So you moved around a little bit. You perhaps, due to the beauty of group telepathy, been able to have some brief conversations across the hillside without the badgers being participants in that. The roadhog does look a little nervous about what's going on, and then the badgers look like they're done conferring. They turn back to you and say, "Look, you people seem well and nice enough and all, but I think you don't want to go in there. It's really not so great."
Oh, how is it not great?
Well, the Iron King's pet is in the lobby, and it doesn't deal well with new people. And I think I understand the point about robots in, robots out, but I don't know. There's not a precedent, and I feel like we would need some documentation from the Iron King before we could act on that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to work with you people here. But at the same time, you're clearly a different kind of robot. No offense. The other badger looks like, oh my god, why did you say that?
I think I gather myself up and say, I think I am offended, and take a step off to the side like this, as if I'm stepping away in a huff, but also closer at the same time.
I reel in feigned, not frustration. What's the word I'm looking for? Feigned offense. Oh, how dare you! Now, we received word from the Iron King that we were supposed to keep this a secret. The Iron King is testing out a new prototype robot that is going to be better than the one that he is using right now. I can't believe that we've had to put up with this, and if you do not let us through, I will tell the Iron King that you kept us from getting inside when we needed to get inside, and you and your family will be banned from this territory, and you will never work in this town or area again.
The badgers immediately step aside and look very abashed. However, the Roadhog takes a step outside from around the boulder and says, "You idiots! He didn't know who the Iron King was like 2 minutes ago."
Yes, we did. As he said, we were told to keep this secret. The fact that we have now had to let the proverbial cat out of the proverbial bag only means more trouble for you fellows.
The badger says, "There's a cat."
Says, as E84 says, "Let the cat out of the bag," I sprint up to the Roadhog and make an attack.
All right.